I've been running Airbnbs for over 15 years, and these are the 12 things that I wish someone told me when I was just getting started out. First up is that it cannot be overstated just how important the location of your property is. If you get it right, it's going to be your business's greatest asset that's going to pay you back over and over and over. But if you get it wrong, it's going to be the biggest liability and there's no coming back from it. It's important to remember that when the guests are coming to stay in your place, they're not just going to rate and review the property itself and how you dealt with them as a host, but they're going to review the location as well. So in a positive way, if you have a nice coffee shop or parks or something nearby that's really nice, you're going to get positive reviews for that thing, even though it's not in your property. But it works the other way. If your area is dangerous or it's not desirable or you've got noisy neighbors or anything like that, even though it's not in your property and you have no control over it, you're going to get marked down. I see so many people in Airbnb Facebook groups saying, I don't understand why I'm getting marked down for location. The guests knew exactly where it was before they booked. They can see a map. And yeah, they can see a map sort of, but they have no idea whether that's a good location or not. So have a look at this map. This location looks quite far out, doesn't it? Probably not a good location. Well, actually, check this out. It is an amazing location. And look at this map. It looks like an amazing location. Actually, not so much. I wouldn't want to stay there. Guests are often coming to your place, your city, your town, your area for the first time. So they know generally what the town is called or the area, but they don't know the good streets and bad streets. So it's up to you as a host to only offer something if it's going to be in a good location. Now you can use a tool like AirDNA to research a location more generally to find out what your competitors are, how much demand there is, what your nightly rates are going to be able to charge. There's tons of information in there, but it's so important that you look for comparables in the exact area where your property is going to be. Look into those listings, see what guests are saying, see what they're happy with and if they're not happy with anything. And if there's a lot of unhappy guests in that area, just don't go to that area because you're going to have unhappy guests too. All right, number 2, put your big boy or big girl pants on and enable instant book. I know it's scary and I'm not saying you have to do it from day one, but the best way to get bookings in your calendar is to enable instant book. When guests are searching for stays, they're motivated to book there and then. It's frustrating. Who has time to wait around on a response to an inquiry that they've sent? They're probably looking at 3 or 4 different places and they just want to get something booked. Enable instant book and your bookings are going to come in far quicker. And you can set it up to only accept instant bookings from guests with previous history with verified ID. You can minimize the risk that you're going to get, but it is up to you as the host to have your calendar up to date and ready so that when a booking does come in, you can actually accept it. And by being brave and getting used to instant book, it's going to prepare you for being on all the other different booking sites, which we're going to come to later. Now, if you're new here, what's the crack? My name's Dave. I host over 15,000 guests across 75 properties here in Belfast. And if you're finding these useful, then first hit subscribe. I'll wait. No, really, I'm going to wait until you hit it. And next, make a little mental note to get this book, my Amazon #1 best-selling short-term rental revolution. And if you get it from my website from the link below, you're going to get access to my ultimate Airbnb starter bundle, which is actually insane amounts of value in it. All right, back to it. When I was just first starting out, I wish someone had told me about the power and the necessity and the unbelievable return on investment of rate pricing software. What is rate pricing software? Well, it's an algorithm, a program that automatically adjusts your rates multiple times a day, every day, way into the future of all the dates that are available in your calendar. It's absolutely game changing. Now, everyone, when they're starting out in Airbnb, deals with their rates in one of 3 ways. The first way is they set their rates and then forget about them. This is a terrible idea. You're going to be leaving money on the table if you're going to be getting booked far too cheap in periods of high demand. You're going to have big gaps in your calendar because you're going to be too expensive in periods of low demand. It's a terrible, terrible idea, and very few people actually do this, but some people do. The next thing is people are prompted by Airbnb to use their smart pricing, and everyone with half a brain knows that adjusting your rates based on demand is a good idea. So people often think,
yeah, smart pricing, that sounds brilliant, and it's free, it's included in Airbnb. Click that and turn it on.
Do not do this. Airbnb just wants to put your prices down and down and down to get as many bookings in as they can. They want to have loads of cheap places that are available for their guests, and they want you to bear the expense of that on their behalf. Never, ever, ever use Airbnb smart pricing. Or the third option, which most people do, and I did at the start, is they spend hours and hours fiddling with rates. Up by $10 or £10, down by $5 and £10. Next day, up and down, and you look at it constantly. You look at all the gaps that you've got, and you play around, and you fiddle, and you mess about until bookings come in. And you might think, oh, I'm way on top of this. I know exactly what I'm doing with my rates. But did you realize all the money that you missed out on when you didn't get your prices up quick enough in periods of high demand? And that is the biggest mistake that people make with these rates. We're very good at spotting gaps and putting them down, but when we miss out on a big conference or a big party or some big demand event that's happening in our area, the booking comes in before we get a chance to increase those rates, we've lost that money. Your property will never reach its full financial potential without the use of a rate pricing software. Yes, this thing is not free. If you use something like Price Labs or Beyond Pricing, they're not free, but you have to think of them as an investment. They're not a cost. An investment is something that provides a return, and using something like Price Labs provides a massive return. You could be increasing your revenue by 20 or 30 or even 40% when using this. And it's not just the revenue that it's saving you. Think of all that time you've been tinkering away, $5 here, $2 here. It just cuts all of that out. It's an algorithm that works 24 hours a day. It's gonna do it better than you. Just get it. Do it! Number 4 is probably the biggest noob question that I get asked, and I fell into this trap as well whenever I was getting started. It's around occupancy. Everyone gets obsessed when they're first starting out about occupancy. They want to get 100%. They're so focused on this number. But in reality, occupancy means almost nothing. It's the wrong metric to be looking at. You can have 100% occupancy but shit profit, and you could have 70% occupancy and be smashing it in terms of profit. So the key thing that you actually need to be considering and focusing on is not occupancy but your profit. And to elaborate on that further, 30 one-night stays are going to be super unprofitable. That's going to be 100% occupancy for that month, but you have 30 changeovers. That's 30 cleans, 30 sets of guests you have to deal with. So not profitable. Whereas if you have 7 3-night stays, even though you're leaving 9 days or 10 days available, not booked, the changeover costs on those are going to be so much lower. So your profit is actually going to be higher. So forget occupancy, focus on profit. The 5th thing that's so important to think about when you're just getting started is that you always need to put yourself in the guest's shoes. This is a hospitality business. Now, when you're just getting your property set up, or when you're even trying to find a property, it can be very easy to get so consumed in that you forget that guests are even coming to stay in this thing. But when they do, you're going to see very quickly that they have lots of annoying questions, frustrating demands, but these guys pay the bills. This is what you're signing up for. These aren't just little profile pictures that you see on the Airbnb app. These are real people coming on their holidays with expectations of how amazing it's going to be, and when stuff goes wrong or when they have questions, it's up to you to answer them. Your whole Airbnb business exists to serve these people, and without them, there is no business. So you've got to work really hard. And remember this, revenue follows reviews. You've got to work damn hard to get those 5-star reviews from every single guest, because when you get them, it makes it so much easier to get the next booking and the next booking. The next thing that's so important to remember when you're just starting out, and something that I wish someone had told me when I was just starting out, is that this is a business that you're running. This is not a job you're taking on. And what I mean by that? Well, a job is exchanging your time for money. A business is when you're making money without the need for you to keep putting the hours in. So the goal for your Airbnb should be to get it to run as much as possible without you. Your time is valuable, and you need to hold on to it and protect it as much as you can. Think about it like this. However much a booking comes in for, say it's £200, think about how many hours of your time it's taken to service that booking. It could take you 3 hours to clean the place if you're doing it yourself. It could take you an hour to wash and iron and put on the linen. It could take you at least an hour's worth of communication back and forth with the guests. And if you're doing a meet and greet, that could be an hour as well, while you're waiting on them and then showing them around the property. Now work out what your average hourly rate is on that. Now I know a lot of people start Airbnbs as side hustles, but you want it to be able to run itself as much as possible. Otherwise, you may as well just get a second job working in a hotel front desk. It's going to be easier, less stress, more reliable income. That's a harsh truth, but I see so many people get sucked in and swallowed up by the business and just completely overwhelmed and overworked, and actually not earning that much when they calculate the hours that they're working against the revenue that they're making. And that's why number 7, you need to be thinking about from the start how to systemize the business as much as possible. And when you're starting out, this is the best time to systemize, because you've got the time. Once you get started in this Airbnb business, things get crazy super fast, and you don't have the time to see the wood for the trees. Now I'm going to give you a quote. It's from my book, but I think it's from Abraham Lincoln. Found it on the internet. Who knows? Anyone could have said it. But it says, if you give me 5 hours to chop down a tree, I'm going to spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. When I first heard this quote, it just hit me like a ton of bricks, because it shows the need for systems. It shows the need for planning ahead. If you get started in an Airbnb business without systems, you're going to be whacking away at that tree with a blunt axe. And if someone says to you, why don't you take some time to try and systemize it? You're going to say, I don't have time. I'm too busy hitting this tree with a blunt axe. So the time to start, the time to try these systems is before you get started. Think about who you're going to get to come and clean your property. Think about how you're going to get the linen laundered without you having to do it. Think about maintenance people that can come whenever problems arise. Think about how you can automate the messages that go to your guests. Think about all the frequently asked questions that they're going to have and how you can put that together in a welcome pack so that before they even think about asking it, you've already sent them the answer. There's so many ways to systemize this business to free up your time and make it a proper business and not a job. I've actually got a video here showing the best ways to systemize it. Number 8 is that when you're starting out in Airbnb, it's really important to realize that you don't have to just rely on Airbnb, and in fact it's foolish to do so. Airbnb prioritize themselves first, their guests second, and us hosts last. And they're shifting their whole algorithm to prefer different things. I mean, look at these new properties that they're pushing out. This is what they want to be known for, crazy properties, whereas your little house or your little apartment is going to go right down the list unless it's in a tree. Add to that, if there's ever any issues with guests in your property, they're always going to fall on the side of the guests. So the best thing to do when you're just starting out is to have a plan to get direct bookings. A direct booking not only saves you the commission that you're going to pay to Airbnb, puts it in your pocket, but it also gives you full control. You own the data of that guest. You have control over that booking to deal with it whatever way you want. Direct bookings are the future, but they're quite hard to get. And that's why number 9 is when you're just starting out, make sure that you're listing your property on as many different booking sites as possible. And to do that effectively and to stop double bookings, use a channel manager. There are millions of people around the world who just don't use Airbnb. So by only listing your property on there, you're missing out on millions of eyeballs who would probably love to come and stay in your property. Booking.com, Expedia, Verbo, all these different sites have dedicated users that use those exclusively. So you need to be getting on all of them. It's just going to maximize the ability for you to get bookings from all over the place. Number 10 is when you're starting out, look for ways that you're going to be able to increase the occupancy in your property. Now, if you're looking to buy a property or rent it or manage it, look for the biggest property you can get. These are going to be the ones that you can charge the highest nightly rates in. If you already have a property that you're wanting to put on Airbnb, look for places where you can add occupancy. Put a sofa bed in the living room. If it's a massive bedroom, squeeze 2 beds in there, a double and a single or a king and a single. The more people you can get into this property, the higher nightly rates you can charge. And the lower amount of occupancy in the property, the more competition you're going to have. So think about it. If you have a 1-bedroom property that only sleeps 2, you're competing with every 1 bed, 2 bed, 3 bed, 4 bed, 5 bed property. You're competing with every hotel room, every B&B, every guest house. Or if you have a 1-bed property that sleeps 4, the competition falls away, and the higher the occupancy you get, the far fewer competition that there is. Number 11, and the most important things that I wish I knew when I was starting out, is the importance of vetting guests before you let them in. Now, I'm sure when you go away and stay in places like Airbnbs, you're wonderful guests who treat the place with full respect, lavish the owner with praise after your stay, and leave the place sparkling as if you've never even been there. But not all guests are like you and me. There's a lot of horrible people who come and stay in Airbnbs and treat it without respect whatsoever. Bring pets, smoke in it, do drugs, have parties, other things that I'll not even go into. And they exist, and they're on the lookout for places in your area that they can come and stay. So important when you're getting started that you're aware of these people and that you start to vet your guests before you accept bookings or even let the people into the property. I have a whole section on this in my book. It's one of my 5 Ps. 5th P is protection, but honestly, this is so important that you have a strict vetting procedure. I'm talking like minimum age requirements, get them to sign house rules, have a security deposit. There's so many things that you can do to just protect your property and your business. And the 12th thing I wish I knew when I was starting out, it would have saved me a lot of time and got me a lot more bookings, is the importance of professional photography. Now, I don't care if you've got an iPhone 99 Pro X Ultimate with the best lens and all that shit. It is not going to be as good as a professional photographer with professional gear, lighting, techniques and experience of photographing properties. I see so many shit photos on Airbnb and Booking.com of properties that are probably really nice, but the host has just ruined their advertising by taking photos on their phone. The photos that you display on your listing in the search results are your shop window. You need to stop the scroll with that photo and get someone to click in, because if no one clicks in, no one's going to book. And when you use poor quality photos that you've taken on your phone or even with your mate's fancy camera, they're not going to be good enough, and people in a split second are just going to discount it and just keep on scrolling by. And you're going to be blaming market saturation or Airbnb bust or not enough demand in your area, when really, if you just use better photos, you're going to make your property more enticing, you're going to get more bookings, and you're going to get more money. Now, these 12 principles are crucial that you keep in mind when you're getting started, but they don't actually tell you how to run the ins and outs of the business. For that, you'll need to watch this free 30-minute training that's going to show you how to do everything from the start to the finish to enable you to smash it from day one. Now, if you're still here, I'm still waiting. You have to hit that subscribe button. As usual, leave me a comment on any of these ones that's hit home the hardest or anything that surprised you. And just while you're still here, just let me know. I know you're all around the world, but have any of you ever visited Belfast? I'd love to know. Leave me a comment down below and I'll see you next time.